In a world increasingly woven from digital threads, where our lives leave phantom footprints in the algorithms we trust, what happens when those echoes whisper secrets we were never meant to hear? Ethan, a young data scientist with a penchant for the obscure corners of the internet, stumbled upon it by accident. He was mapping network anomalies for a cybersecurity firm in London, tracing the digital breadcrumbs of potential threats. But one particular data stream was different. It wasn't malicious, it was personal. Fragmented messages, time-stamped years apart, flitted through the network like digital ghosts. They were cryptic, often just a few words, but together they painted a fragmented portrait of a hidden relationship, a clandestine affair conducted entirely online. Meet me by the old oak, midnight. The coast is clear. They suspect nothing. I can't live without you. It's over. Forgive me. He started to feel a connection to these unknown individuals, their joy and sorrow echoing in his own life. He imagined them meeting in secret, their fingers dancing across keyboards, hearts intertwined across vast digital distances. After days of searching, he found them: Sarah, a graphic designer now living in Bristol, and Mark, a software engineer in San Francisco. Their profiles were public, but showed no obvious connection. No shared friends, no tagged photos together. They lived seemingly separate lives. He also felt the sting of their eventual separation, the cold finality of "it's over." A secret, passionate online affair that had ended abruptly and painfully over a decade ago. The initial exchanges between Sarah and Mark were tentative, filled with the awkwardness of rekindled embers. But slowly, cautiously, they began to talk, to fill in the gaps of their digital romance, to understand why it had ended. They had never met in person, their entire relationship existing within the digital realm. They had both moved on, or so they thought. Ethan, a self-proclaimed digital voyeur with a strong ethical compass, initially intended to flag it, seemingly insignificant detail, a repeated reference to a specific rare online game. Active in the early 2010s, he had unearthed their digital echoes, to expose them, but to allow them to finally resonate in the real world. He had learned that even in the vast, impersonal landscape of the internet, human connection leaves indelible traces, and sometimes the algorithms we build can become unexpected custodians of our deepest, most hidden stories. Ethan, a digital native, remembered it vaguely. He dug through archived forums and player lists. The internet wasn't just a network of machines. It was a repository of human experience, a place where love, loss, and memory left their indelible marks. And sometimes, if you listened closely enough, you could hear the faint echoes of lives lived, whispered in the language of the algorithm. But the weight of the story, the silent echoes he had unearthed, compelled him. He crafted 2 carefully worded, anonymous messages, hinting at the data he had found and the connection he suspected without revealing too much. Using the fragmented message patterns and approximate timestamps, he managed to find 2 usernames that frequently interacted within the game's private messaging system around the time the cryptic messages started appearing. Her message was hesitant, filled with disbelief and a flicker of fear. Acknowledged playing the game years ago, but couldn't understand the rest. Ethan responded cautiously, sharing a few anonymized fragments of the messages he had found. But the raw emotion in these snippets, the palpable sense of longing and eventual heartbreak, held him captive. He felt like an unwitting witness to a drama that had played out entirely in the shadows of the web. There were no names, no IP addresses. He could definitively trace back to real people. It was as if these echoes belonged to ghosts in the machine, driven by a strange sense of responsibility. Ethan began to meticulously piece the fragments together, like an archaeologist unearthing pottery shards. He developed a unique algorithm, one that looked for linguistic patterns, recurring phrases, and the ebb and flow of intensity in the messages. The more he delved, the more he became convinced that this wasn't just random data. This was someone's story. His investigation led him down unexpected rabbit holes. He analyzed timestamp patterns, correlating them with global events, hoping for a clue. He looked for recurring keywords that might point to a specific hobby or location. The digital breadcrumbs were faint, deliberately obscured, but Ethan was persistent. Weeks turned into months. Ethan's nights were spent bathed in the blue light of his monitors, the fragmented love story unfolding before him. Then, a breakthrough. It was a long shot, but he decided to try and find these users on contemporary social media platforms. Ethan wrestled with what to do. Should he reach out? Would he be intruding on a long-buried past? What if he was wrong? Days turned into agonizing weeks of silence. Then, one evening, an email landed in his inbox. It was from Sarah. The reply he received was immediate and raw. Sarah confirmed the messages. They were hers and Mark's. Ethan became an unlikely intermediary, a digital ghostbuster, bringing to real people face-to-face with their shared past. Ethan never revealed his identity, remaining a silent observer in the periphery. As Ethan continued his work, sifting through the endless streams of data, he carried a newfound understanding.